Seller financing. Can someone take over my house mortgage loan? This is exactly what I'm going to answer in this video. But before I explain, we need to understand the basic laws in America, which is we have two briefcases. We have briefcase number one, what I call civil law, and briefcase number two, what I call criminal law. And let me give you an example of a civil law. A civil law is, for example, I get into a contract with a credit card company, and then one day I stop making payments on my bill. Now, I've broken and breached a contract, but it's a civil contract. Therefore, I'm not going to go to jail. Okay. On the other hand, we have the other briefcase, what I call the criminal law. And that, for example, is if I go out there and beat someone up, now I can go to jail because I'm hurting them. So there's two different types of laws. And I also like to put a disclaimer out there that I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a refugee that came to America, and I started buying houses through seller financing. So I'm just sharing my personal experiences. I can be 100% wrong. But from my understanding, there's two types of laws in America. We have civil and we have criminal. Criminal, if you breach it, you will go to jail or have possibility to go to jail. But on a civil laws, or like laws where, a breach of contract with a borrower and a lender, okay, or a insurance, breach of contract where I have auto insurance and I stop paying for it, right? So it's very important to understand that too, because now it allows me to explain, can someone take over my house mortgage loan? Okay. And the answer is yes and no. Okay. And I'm going to explain both. Why do I say yes and no? Because if someone takes over my house mortgage loan, then I'm breaching a contract that I have with the mortgage company, with the bank, okay? But that is in the briefcase for civil. Therefore, I'm not going to go to jail for that, even though that I'm breaking my word, okay? Or a contract that I have with them that I just tell them I'm going to pay X amount and they're going to give me this much and I'm going to pay them this interest rate for this term, okay? That's what taking over payments are. So can I take over people's payments? No, because the bank doesn't allow it. So how did I take over people's payments if the bank doesn't allow it, Mike? That's a very good question. Because the borrower breached contract, but the bank has an option to accelerate the note and foreclose on the property. However, because I was making the seller's monthly payments for them, the bank didn't foreclose because, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, they want their monthly payments to come in. They want a performing asset. They want a performing note. Okay. Now, so I said yes and no. Yes, I can buy their house from the borrower because the borrower is on the hook, and if he or she can't pay for it, then she may want to defer that. I could assume the loan, which I can't assume it any of these mortgages these days, but in the 1980s, you're able to. But today, in 2022, you can't assume it. But I can just take over and get the seller to deed me the property, convey the title to me, okay? And I'll be the rightful owner of it, and I just start making the monthly payments. I don't assume the loan. The loan is still under the seller's neck, right? So this is why I say it's like a yes and no. Yes, I can buy a house and get all the rights to it in the law, right? In the eye of the law from the tax department, okay? But at the same time, it's a no because the bank doesn't want it, right? And the bank can accelerate the notes and foreclose on the borrower, which can hurt the borrower and the new investor, which is me, right? So that's why I say no. But also I say yes because, I can buy the house from the seller. He or she's not going to go to jail because it's their credit that's on the line. And if they want to save their credit, they have every right to, right? If they can't make the payments, instead of letting the bank to foreclose and they want to save their credit, they have the right to find a different buyer. Even though that I'm not going to cash out the loan, they could convey the deed to me and I can make their monthly payments. Are they going to be on the hook? Yes, the borrower is, to the bank, because it's still on their Social Security, still on their credit. Okay, but I'll be making the payments, and in return, I'm going to own the property and get the equities, and I don't have to get a loan from the bank. I don't have to cash out their loan. I don't have to use my own cash. So there's the pros and cons. So there are risks with it, but there's also rewards with it for me. And for me, I like buying seller financing. I like buying houses where the seller becomes my private bank. That's 90% of the deals that I do are through seller financing. I have bought houses with my own cash, or I should say real estate properties with my own cash, but I prefer to do seller financing. I prefer to do subject to real estate investing. I prefer to do creative real estate investing where I deal with motivated sellers and they become my bank. So to answer the question, it's a yes and a no. Yes, I can make the seller's payment. Yes, I will be the owner of the property if we do seller financing. Yes, if someone pulls up on the county clerks and the world can see that I'm the rightful owner of it. Yes, the seller, the old seller or the borrower will still be on the hook for the existing mortgage. And if I don't make the payments, then they're going to get foreclosed on, but I'm also going to get hurt because I put money down, or maybe I made monthly payments for a few years, so I'm still have skin in the game, okay? But on the eye of the bank, no, they don't allow the deed to be conveyed to another buyer without the underlying mortgage being cashed out. That's what the deed of trust is. They say in the deed of trust that in the due on sale clause that if you convey the deed, they tell the seller, if you convey the deed to anyone else, we're going to foreclose on you. Do they have the option? Yes. In my past experiences with my houses that I've bought, has any corporate bank ever wanted to foreclose on me? No. I made the monthly payments. The payments came through my name instead of the old seller's name. When I changed the insurance on the property, I put it in on my company name versus the old seller. So they were notified through the process, but I just never called the bank and said, look, dude, I'm going to assume this loan, or I'm going to take over the payments. I never did that, but I did file the deed at the county clerk's office, which let the whole world know that the title was transferred. Again, I changed the insurance. So, no, because the bank doesn't want me to, but yes, but because the bank will accept my payments. So it's kind of like, it's one of those situations, right? Do I ever go ask the bank for their permission? No. If they ever call me, would I tell them? Yes. I'm not going to lie to the bank. That's federal offense, but I'm not going to just volunteer to the bank that, hey, I just bought this guy's payments and I'm making the payments, right? I actually have things set up like powers of attorney and stuff like that to be able to talk to the bank on behalf of the seller. But but I do notify them through the insurance, because when I buy a house, I insure it, and I'm the payee if there is a claim. So the bank knows that there's a transfer because it's on the county clerks. They know who's a new policy on there through the insurance, but they know that the check is coming from a different person. So they know all that stuff, but they choose not to. In my opinion, I could be wrong, is that it costs a lot of money to foreclose a house. It costs money to pay the trustee. Costs money to pay the realtor to resell it. You got to pay the taxes, the insurance. You got to pay all these fees. And I think that the banks will just prefer to get their monthly payments, right? And I also believe that the interest rates that I take over on a house, a couple of years ago, the interest rate today is a lot lower than it was there. So I don't see any incentive for them to want to foreclose on. If I take over, someone's mortgage, back that was made in 2016, right? Their mortgage today in 2020 is so much less than 2016, right? So it's like, why would they foreclose on a house that they're getting 6% and come and do a new loan getting less than 2% or 3%, and then got to pay all this trustees and try to resell it and all these holding fees. So, but the banks do have a remedy to foreclose on the property, because in the deed of trust, DOT, there's a NOS, notice of sale clause, that allows them. They have the option, but I've never had them flex it on me. Can they flex it on me? Absolutely. That's a risk, right? But on the other hand, I think that seller financing benefits totally outcome the negative for me, if they do foreclose, because, for me to be able to get a non-recourse loan when I do the seller financing, which means that if the bank forecloses on the house, it doesn't hurt my credit. It only hurts the seller's credit, because I never assumed the loan. Now, I'm not trying to just take on loans and not make their payments. That's not the kind of guy I am. But I'm saying, if the bank did decide to accelerate the loan, the only thing that I'll be out money, right? I'll be out closing costs. Maybe I paid the seller some money. Maybe the seller is behind in payments. Maybe I'm into the loan 3 years and I made monthly payments. But there's a possibility I could be out of that money. But it just all depends also on how much equity I have. If I have a lot of equity, I could, refinance. I could do this. I could do that to stop the foreclosure. So there's a lot of options at my hand. But can someone take over someone's monthly payments? Yes, I've taken on many people's monthly payments and bought their house, from firefighters to teachers to just regular people.
Download my free book, Real Estate Investing for Beginners, the ultimate starter guide, at myrealestatedojo.com, where I teach you how to find motivated sellers, buy their homes at a deep discount, and then have the seller become your own private bank. Subject to, get it now. One more thing, if you're looking for private one-on-one help when it comes to real estate investing, then consider joining my academy, where you sit down with me one-on-one. 2, you get monthly coaching. 3, you get access to my best-selling courses. 4, you get access to my video library, and then the list goes on, for just $97 a month. Join me now at MrNoFluff.com. Lastly, the best 6-figure side hustle, bicycle flipping. Want to see how? Here's a behind-the-scene video how I did it. Go to thebestsidehustle.mrnofluff.com. Now let's get back to the content.
But does the bank allow it? No. Am I lying to the bank? No. I don't even call them to let them know. If they ever called me and say, hey, did you take over this guy's payment? I'm going to tell them, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I would never lie to the bank, because, then I'm setting myself a criminal. And, I understand this is a civil thing, just like the seller just stopped making their payments, on their credit card. Right, it's a civil thing. If the bank forecloses, they're not going to go to jail because they didn't make their house payments. All right, so I'm not going to lie to the bank, but I'm not going to call them a volunteer. But I disclose it to them in the insurance policy, and to me sending the checks to them, and so on. And so it's a yes and no. It's a gray shade area, but from my understanding, again, I'm not an attorney. I give you that disclaimer earlier, that it's a civil matter versus a criminal matter. And that's why I took the time to explain the difference between civil law and criminal law in America, because it is a confusing thing. It's a confusing idea to think about. How can the borrower/seller deed you the property and the loan still be in their name? Because you have to understand, how collateral is held in America through the creation of a deed of trust, and how someone can own the deed but the bank can foreclose, which means that the bank has interest in the property as much as the owner of the property. So that kind of gets complex. But to answer it, yes and no. Can someone take over someone's house payments? Yes and no. And I've taken, hopefully, 12, 15 minutes to explain it for you guys. If you're looking for more information about seller financing, subject to real estate investing, creative real estate investing, owner carry, owner financing, then go to myrealestatedojo.com. I have my blog, my video blogs, tons of free information there for you. And if you want to support me and support yourself, then get some of my seller financing courses. They're hot. Most of my students, when they buy something, they continue buying more products because, I deliver. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. Don't take no for an answer. Click the like button. And always remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you ever imagined. Romy.